I'm a jewelry archaeologist. The story is really the American story. Yes, were they lucky enough to have this alley cat and rugrat here doing it? Yes, but it's still the American story.
You know, one of the things he's done in accumulating this incredible collection is save stuff from being destroyed.
He is the impetus to save a part of American history that, no one knows about, and he's there holding the ship up, keeping it right before it sinks. And so for him to find Hugo was a wonderful thing.
My early years, it was being a Boy Scout and doing leatherwork and woodwork that really started to get me into shapes and motion. My uncle, he was the guy who saw all the things being destroyed in the late 70s and early 80s, and he said, who's ever going to know how to do this? Who's going to make this oval dish? Or, so it was shapes and motions. He says, memorize them, keep them, hold on to them, never let them go. So I was influenced both by the Scouts and by him. And it's 30-some odd years later, and I think we've captured all that essence. On this side of the museum, we teach you how to make jewelry. This was set up at an exhibition downtown where we took an antique set of dies in the antique machines, and we gave people a piece of silver. They were able to make a piece of jewelry. I need to capture a century. I need to capture what they did, how they did it, who did it, why were they doing this. The piece of jewelry, well, now you can go on eBay. Piece of jewelry, all you need is money. You go down and buy a piece of jewelry and say, okay, I got the piece of jewelry. But there was so much destruction going on because the advent of Hong Kong coming in the 80s when I got started. These factories are all being thrown away. So we're constructing this 1898 map vis-a-vis our collections at the museum because we're very proud that we can, we're going to have a student rebuild some of these buildings. We're very proud that we can fill them. Do you follow me? And look at him in the dumpster there. I mean, this is just classic. This is classic. Anything you can find, you can have, okay? You take what you want. I told him how famous you are, and I told him that you have as much jewelry history as I do. But I kept my stuff, and you scrapped yours. That's part of the jewelry industry. Where there's good things happening, there's also bad things happening. Then you have the street urchins that you should listen to his jewelry story. How many jewelry factories he's taken apart, destroyed them, didn't save anything. But kind of part of the food chain.
But this is the jewelry district, the original jewelry district. All these buildings, even though there's a new insurance building there, that used to be Gorham. These were all jewelry factories. And this is the real jewelry district, the original colonial jewelry district. Between marketing the clad metals and the infrastructure, these guys had this incredible incubator of the jewelry industry. America was the first, and up until 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the only mass market in the world. So where else could you have a hot item and it meant something? America. So if something got hot at Sears, there was Sears all over the United States. And we here in Rhode Island, many people don't realize that all their hard work went to stores all over the United States. They never imagined it, that you were supplying the Americans with pleasure. I'm curating the sale of all these because we just don't need them all.
As long as I've known Peter, the Providence Jewelry Museum, in a larger sense, has always been right around the corner. I would like to see Peter be able to complete this goal for himself.
This area, always didn't have any self-esteem about the jewelry industry because it's how their parents or their uncles made a living. Number two, I live in a state that 70% of the people work for municipalities. And lastly, it's very hard to raise money in a time when only a cancer or a child with a problem brings the donor dollars. What this area hasn't realized is that the jewelry is a kind of a world that lives on its own. that the jeweler dollar will come from everywhere but here. But you tend to have people analyze what we're doing and say, oh, well, we'll never raise the money. They don't have the vision to see that basically this support for this museum, right to date, right to you folks being here, the support, most of the support for this museum has come from everywhere but here. So that's why I failed. But as I told you, the highway just came down last month and it's exposed the holy ground of the real jewelry district. And the stars are aligning up, and maybe in our 34th year, it's finally going to happen. I chose this Tiffany letter opener from 1910, commemorating the USS Maine. It's really a work of art, and believe it or not, the dies are on the floor over there that made it. And I will open this bequeath with it in front of you guys. As a follow-up to our email communication, enclosed, please find the offer from SunTrust Bank to the Providence Jewelry Museum. $10,000 Jesus on a cross, $28,000 of her pieces. What does that add up to? $500,000.
Is it everything you wanted?
It's about 1/3 of what I wanted. So,
Are you
but it's still,
take it?
I don't know. I don't know. Hey, it's still $500,000 and no one's ever offered us anything in 33 years. So,
Whatever I can do here on this end with what I've gotten, and hopefully there'll be more to come, Peter is very much a part of it, as much as he wants to be a part of it. He's somebody that I like personally, but I respect and admire, and would do well to emulate him as much as possible.
there's an appreciation for good things again in America. Now, you're seeing all that. We had Tiffany come a decade ago and build the largest, most expensive jewelry factory in the world. Tiffany now gave us the 3rd century. Don't forget, we've had 2 centuries of the jewelry industry here, and almost all went away. It almost all disappeared. There's a new incubation going on, so yes, it is the beginning of a renaissance.